Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can use input boxes in Google Sheets so that way when someone visits your Google Sheets file, they'll get a prompt asking them either a question or to answer buttons or both, and then converting that into values in your Google Sheets file. So here I'm starting with a blank sheet, and I'm going to go under extensions and launch AppScript. And so I'm going to create the function that's going to do all this for us. So by default, we've got the my function to start with, and that's fine. We can work within here. And so for starters, I'm going to create a variable for the user interface. So var UI is equal to spreadsheet app.get UI. Open and close. And we've done. We've got our user interface set up. Now, what we need to do now is start collecting the actual responses from the prompt. So I can create a variable called result and set that equal to UI.prompt. And this is where you can enter the string that you want someone to see. So let's say, please enter your name. Close that out. And then in this case, because they're just entering text, I can use get response text. Open and close. Save it. And then what I'm also going to do is now put this into the spreadsheet. So I'm going to use the spreadsheet app.getActiveSheet. Open and close. And then get range. And in this case, I'm going to put the first row, the first column, and then set the value equal to that result, because that result has already converted it into text. So that's fine. So I'm effectively going to put that value into row 1, column 1. So I'm going to save the function, and I'm going to go over to triggers because I need something to trigger this function to run. So I'm going to click on add trigger, and it's taking a bit to load, so let's try it one more time here. So we've got my function, head from spreadsheet, and select event type on open. So that means when the file opens up, it's going to run. So I'm going to hit the save button, and now it's going to ask me to allow the script, add permissions, go to titled, allow, and away we go. So now the trigger is set up. So now when I refresh the spreadsheet, you can see it just finished loading. So I should enter a prompt any second. There we go. So let's enter a prompt for our name, David. Hit OK. And there it is. Row 1, column 1. It's entered in here. Now, but let's say we also wanted to add some buttons. We also wanted the user to enter in yes, no, or maybe even cancel. So go to extensions, AppScript. And now I'm going to get rid of the get response text here because there might be a button selection that's also made. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to put dot comma, and you can see there's an argument for buttons. So if I do UI dot button, you'll see now there's an option. I can select cancel, close, no, okay, yes. But I could also use a button set, so multiple buttons. So you can see I've got OK, OK and cancel, yes or no, cancel. So I'm going to use that one because it's got the most options. Yes or no, cancel. I'm going to close that out. So now that result is captured within there, both the value that I enter in for my name as well as the button selection. So now for row 1, column 1, so I've got this result. I now have to specify that I want the text because here I haven't converted the text anymore. So I want to put it within here. So get response text. Okay. So I'm going to copy this over here. And now for row 1, column 2, instead of get response text, I'm going to select the option for get selected button. Open and close. Close out everything. There we go. So now let's save it. And now I will refresh the spreadsheet. And now the prompt that's going to pop up is going to ask me for both my name and to hit yes, no, or cancel. So let's say I'm going to enter a value of John, and let's press cancel. Now I've got John and cancel. So you can see it's capturing both the input and the button that I've clicked on. Now let's say you want to have multiple responses here. You don't always want to replace these. Like you want to continue on with this list. So let's go back to extensions and app script. And I'm going to do a slight modification here. I'm going to add another variable to get the last row. So last row is equal to the spreadsheet app dot get active sheet, open and close, and then get last row. And this will have the last row that has data on it. So I will want to increment it by 1. So it always goes to the next row. The next row would be the one that has a blank value. So instead of row 1, I'm going to select last row. Oops. Last row. And then last row. So now if I were to save this, all right, and then let's say I want to clear this out, start fresh, do a refresh here. And now I'll again get prompted for my name. So let's say David selected yes, right? Let's do a refresh. Another user comes to the sheet. Let's say it's still loading, takes a few seconds. So if you don't see it right away, it doesn't mean it's not working. Let's say John said no, right? Refresh. Now another user comes to your sheet. And now let's say Brian will select cancel. So you can see now you've got all these inputs that keep on adding to your previous values. So a quick recap. You want to go to extensions, app script, and here you can enter in the code to select, to create the variable for the user interface, capture the result within the UI.prompt where you can specify the text, the string that'll show up when they see the message box, and the different buttons that they'll have access to. And then for the last row variable, this is strictly just getting the last row in that active sheet, jumping by 1, so we're jumping into the next row, which presumably would be empty. If this is the last row that had data, then the one after it would be empty. And then using that last row so that we're always building on the previous value. So we're not erasing anything, we're just building on top of what's already been entered. And so the other thing is to also create the trigger so that when the spreadsheet opens, we run the function, and then that allows the user to then see the prompt and enter in the values. So that's how you can use input boxes in Google Sheets. Hope you found this useful, and thank you for watching.